Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Wherever you're situated on this great, big, beautiful blue globe floating through the void of Yah's creation, it's Friday, TGIF, right? Yeah. 13th of March, 2026. And if you're watching the mainstream networks, please be aware that you're consuming intellectual fecal matter, which means you end up with for brains.
You won't be trusted anymore.
Wow, what a crazy world we're living in, huh? Oh, man. Anyway, welcome to the Friday edition of the WTF Reports. I'm Dave Von Kleist, host of this crazy show, WTF, with the facts. And if those facts make you exclaim, WTF, well, then so be it. As if we don't have enough reason to exclaim that. But anyway, as usual, this broadcast is brought to you in part by the Wave Watch, and if you haven't checked it out, you really should. We need to be able to do any and everything that we can to keep ourselves healthy and in good shape in the coming days, weeks, and months. And as Tesla told us, frequency is everything. And Royal Raymond Rife did the research to find out how frequencies could help your body thrive, help cells to regenerate and be healthy. He also knew that those frequencies also could destroy viruses and pathogens and parasites and all kinds of stuff. And that's why Rife machines have been becoming more and more popular. So anyway, check out Rife Technology. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com. The pop-up window will take you to an area where you can find out about the Wave Watch and why this frequency generator that you wear on your wrist could very well be beneficial for you. So, and if you use the promo code REDPILL100, you'll get $100 off the purchase of a Wave Watch. And they do have the new version out there, the updated one with all the new frequencies, et cetera, the Wave Watch 2.0. So anyway, check it out. Go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, and check out the Wave Watch. Okay, where do I start today? Oh my gosh. There are so many things. Well, first off the bat, everybody's been wondering, where the heck is Bibi Netanyahu? He hasn't been seen, hasn't done any press conferences in almost a week now. I think he's been gone, missing in action for the past 6 days. However, there was a video that was released. Apparently, he was making a statement on video, but there's a real problem with this video. If you look at the video, the first 3 minutes, he puts his hand up, and he's got 6 fingers on one hand. Now, everybody's noticing this, and they're saying, wait a second, this is is this an AI-generated video? And if so, why isn't Bibi Netanyahu on camera giving news conferences and updates about the efforts in this war with Iran? Why has he been basically, missing in action? Well, now the rumors are all going around that Bibi Netanyahu has been killed in a missile strike. Now, we heard that his brother was killed when a missile hit Bibi Netanyahu's home. We also heard that the head of the Israeli Mossad was also killed in a missile strike. And now we're hearing that, yes, maybe, just maybe, Bibi Netanyahu was killed as well. So, and what's this going to do to the efforts of, of the powers that be in this war? So that's something that a lot of people are talking about. They're saying, wait a second, this does not look like Bibi Netanyahu. This doesn't seem to fit. But anyway, and people are looking at what happened with this missile strike that kicked off this Iran war. Now, before we go into some of the details about that, I want to take you back in time, because there are a couple of comments that Bibi Netanyahu has made through the years, and one of which had to do with how do you make people do crazy things? How do you create people who are willing to die for a religious cause? How do you get them to do horrific, barbaric, monstrous, vicious things? How do you get them to do that? Well, you got to wash their brains, brainwash them. And then after, this is a 2-piece clip. The first one is talking about how we have to brainwash people to have them believe that they're doing something for a higher cause. And then after that, He gives the definition of what a terrorist is. Now, after you hear this, ask yourself if the shoe fits. All right, here's Bibi Netanyahu talking about washing brains. Listen to this.
What terrorists do is target the innocent deliberately. And therefore, my definition of terrorism is the systematic and deliberate attack, the murder, maiming, and menacing of innocents, of civilians, for political goals. You can tell a lot about terrorists, but what happens when they come to power? Those who fight for freedom and come to power do not impose terrorism. Those who do, who fight in terroristic means, end up as being masters of terrorist states.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah. And let me see, do I have the second clip? Oh, no, I guess I missed that clip. Oh, well, that's okay. But anyway, so that's what the definition of terrorism is. And again, you look at the actions taken by Israel and this regime over these the past decades, and as they say, if the shoe fits, wear it. Okay, now let me see. I want to touch on this issue about the double tap. Okay, the double tap, which is what happened with this missile attack on the school in Iran, taking out anyway. They've been saying anywhere between 163 and 170 children, but there was so much more to that. So let me see. Let me see. Which one do I play first here? Okay. ScottRitter was being interviewed by Rick Sanchez on the RT network. And here's what Ritter said.
The United States, on the opening day of the war, fired 4 cruise missiles into a facility that was evacuated by the Revolutionary Guard Command long before the conflict. One of these missiles struck a school. The fourth missile, 3 missiles, 2 missiles struck empty warehouses, 1 struck a school. The 4th missile was loitering over the site, collecting data, sending it back for battle damage assessment. The 2 warehouses were empty, no secondary explosions. But the 3rd site that they struck, they noticed an accumulation of human beings, people running to the site. And so they ordered the 4th missile to strike. The 4th missile went up, came down, and hit. The missile is designed to penetrate with a bunker-busting capability, but there's an additional factor to this missile. Our brilliant weapons designers have concluded that the excess fuel in a Tomahawk missile at the moment of impact can actually be weaponized into a thermobaric weapon, a fuel-air explosive. And so they hit the button, turned the excess fuel into a thermobaric, and the people they saw running were the children who survived the initial attack. They went to the prayer hall with their teachers, and they asked the parents to come in and retrieve their children. Parents are on their way. So the movement you saw were survivors going into the building, teachers with them, parents come to them, and we put the 4th cruise missile in there, turned it into a thermobaric bomb, and burned these children alive. That's this war in a nutshell. Yeah. We don't know what we're doing. We don't know what we're targeting. And all we're doing is murdering people. And you know why this happened? Because Pete Hegseth canceled a Department of Defense directive that required a civilian mitigation team to go over each target to make sure that we weren't striking the wrong targets. He called that woke. He called that ineffective. He wanted to be the most lethal fighting force in the world. Kill, kill, kill. Well, Pete, you killed them. 170 of them. Children. You're a murderer. You're a war criminal. And so is Donald Trump. And so is every American who supports this war. Because this war is an illegal war of aggression. We aren't obeying the laws of war. And we're simply slaughtering innocent people to appease a bunch of neoconservatives who have an outdated concept of what the world should look like and who have completely subordinated the interests of the United States to the state of Israel. And I apologize for losing my temper. I'm a father of 2 girls, and I would hunt down and kill anybody who brought harm to my children.
Okay, tell us how you really feel, huh? Anyway, and let me remind you that Israel has a very, very, very well-established track record for killing innocent people. Now, this is not something that the United States has been partaking in. I suppose they have in the past. You know, the United States has been involved in some very, very nasty conflicts. But you keep in mind that the United States government is influenced by Israel. And if Israel has a particular methodology for conducting their military operations, and they have so much influence and power over our elected officials, it stands to reason that the Israeli methodology and philosophy of war is going to be pushed upon our elected officials to do the same. Now, this is common sense. I mean, think outside of the cage, folks. Would most Americans be participating in these type of military actions if they weren't being so heavily influenced by the Israelis? I don't think so. Maybe I've got my pie in the sky, but I don't think that the American values and ideals and morals and principles are consistent or in any way in alignment with the values of the Israeli government or regime. I don't think, if Israel hadn't gained control over our government going back decades and decades and decades, I don't think we'd be here. I could be wrong, but I can't help but think. I look at the actions taken by the Israelis, and you look at Gaza, the Palestinians, you look at Lebanon, you look at Syria, you look at, all the surrounding countries and their concept of a greater Israel. They're willing to do anything and kill everyone to obtain their goals. So I can't help but think that this ruthless mentality has been pushed upon our government, because I can't allow myself to believe that all of our elected representatives, our congressmen, our senators have the same values, ideals, and goals that Israel has. But for whatever reason, whether it be AIPAC, whether it be, the three magic words,
bribery, coercion, blackmail.
Yeah, maybe those three magic words have been applied towards all of our elected officials. Maybe. Yeah, lobbying, AIPAC, otherwise known as bribery. Okay, coercion. And I've shared this story many, many, many times when Joyce and I were trying to help the Gulf War veterans, and we had the documents, and we approached one of the senators that was in the Senate report. Why aren't you helping these guys? You've got all the documents. You were in the Senate hearings. Why aren't you doing the best that you can to help our troops? And the response was, I have a 15-year-old daughter, and I want her to see a sweet 16th birthday party. So we've got bribery, and what I just described was coercion. And then there's that third magic word is blackmail. Yeah, blackmail. We'll get to that in just a couple of seconds. But I want to get back into this issue about this missile. And Judge Napolitano was interviewing, I forget what the gentleman's name is, but this is another description as to what went down on that first day of this assault in Iran. All right, here it is.
The New York Times is reporting that the Defense Department has concluded that the United States intentionally attacked that school that killed 170 girls. They probably were guided to do it by the Israelis because these girls, it's a private school, these girls were the daughters of IRGC officers.
Absolutely.
This is barbarism at its height.
Absolutely. This is beyond barbarism, George. And with the extra components, which is even more perverse, that this was a ritualistic sacrifice to intimidate the Iranian population as a whole. Look, we can bomb all your kids anytime we want, and there's nothing you can do about it. This is immensely serious and immensely, in terms of perversion, it's hard to beat. And, of course, the modus operandi was the same. A two-tap Tomahawk. The second tap was to kill the teachers, the parents, and the teachers. The first for the girls. And, of course, a sort of indirect attack on the IRGC.
Okay, we heard about double tapping before, didn't we? Remember last year with all the attacks on Gaza? And they went in there and they attacked and hit this hospital with a missile and blew the whole side of the building off. And so the rescue workers went in there to try to help the injured. And as they were there, 15 minutes later, after all the first responders got there and the media was there, they hit that hospital again. That's what's called a double tap. To take out all the people who are rescuing people and also trying to document what's been going on. So they hit a place and then everybody gets there to try to help and then they hit it again. That's what a double tap is. And that's exactly what happened to that school. Now, again, I look at the track record of Israel, and we all should be looking at the track record of Israel. Are these good people? I mean, are these good people or bad people? The world is figuring this out. We're not stupid. You know, I say that all the time. Look, I'm not stupid, I'm not crazy, and I don't lie. So, I mean, we have to look at what Israel does and see if that methodology has been pushed upon our U.S. military. Hegseth, Rubio, Trump. And a lot of people are thinking, hey, this is not the same Trump that we had in the first term. He's done the exact opposite of everything he said he was going to do. So again, what happened to Trump? Has he been compromised? Are those three magic words influencing him in one way or another? Or has he been replaced? Is it a body double, a clone? I don't know. Central casting? I don't know. But things are absolutely wacky, crazy, upside down, and the world is seeing it. As a matter of fact, Ted Cruz was going to talk to a group of people, and when he was brought on the stage, they booed him off the stage. Listen to this.
Respectful dialogue.
I will say this, I am saddened to see that some here, not everyone, but some here, are so consumed with hate. Mr. cannot address your brother. I will say this.
You speak for yourself.
If you will not stand with Israel and the Jews,
No.
then I will not stand with you. Thank you, and God bless you.
I mean, where are his priorities? He said in an interview that he got into the political field with one goal, and that's to represent Israel and Israel's interests. This is what you call treason, and it's in your face. It's in your face. Our elected officials are supposed to represent their constituents, the American people. And when you've got so many congressional representatives and senators walking around and they got that flag with the blue star outside of their offices, I mean, this is treason. And I don't know what it's going to take for the American people to get off of their butts and start demanding that their representatives represent the American people. I mean, people get out there, you know, they protested, Black Lives Matter and all this other crap that was going on 5 years ago. Thousands and thousands of people. Yeah, George Floyd, they got out there and rioted and demonstrated and did all that stuff in mostly peaceful manners. But when it comes to protesting against people who are cannibalizing children, trafficking children, torturing children, nobody says a damn thing. They're all saying, oh, yeah, that's horrible and everything. What's on TV? You know, as if you can just change the channel. I wish we had a remote control that could change the world. But anyway, yeah, the world is waking up. And I got to tell you, folks, bless his soul, Charlie Kirk, he was calling the shots. He really was. As a matter of fact, Charlie Kirk was talking about Epstein. And, of course, the powers that be didn't want you talking about that. And I'm sorry, folks, it seems that TPUSA and, of course, Bibi Netanyahu, they love to go back when Charlie was still on board with protecting Israel. Okay, back, 10 years ago, he was a big supporter of Israel. However, Charlie was not stupid. After the October 7th false flag Hannibal directive, and he called it out, too. He says, was there a stand-down order? Remember that comment? Charlie saw what was going on, which is why he flipped. He was turning against Israel. Of course, TPUSA and the mainstream media doesn't want you to review some of the things that he said in the year before he was murdered, because he saw what was going on. Anyway, here's a quick clip. He's talking about Jeffrey Epstein and Dan Bongino. Yeah, you might want to listen to this. Maybe Bongino, he couldn't figure out which Middle Eastern country would benefit from having all the Epstein materials. Yeah, we all know what happened with Bongino. But anyway, here's Charlie discussing Jeffrey Epstein.
Lies that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz-kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, the kind of disheveled hair, looking as if he was so smart and above the clouds that he was doing advanced mathematic equations on the back of napkins. But if you actually go into some of the videos of people that met with Epstein at the time, they said he was awfully unimpressive when it came to finance and markets and economics. And it's nothing new that if you're in the intel agencies, you want to try and get as much blackmail on powerful people as possible. Easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation of either Mossad, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Saudi intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to and park a couple $100 million and say, hey, can you get one of the members of the royal family with a 13-year-old so we can get them to do what we want to do? Members of Congress are actively being blackmailed. The Epstein playbook is being used on a daily basis. Jeffrey Epstein was not a financier. He was not a hedge fund manager. Jeffrey Epstein was a key player in a multi-decade blackmail operation against the most powerful people on the planet.
Yes. So if Charlie Kirk was quote-unquote noticing, and he was, he was criticizing Israel and pointing all this stuff out. How do you think Bibi Netanyahu and his regime felt about that? How do you think that the powers that be in this country who are being influenced by Israel felt about that? Yeah, Charlie was putting the puzzle pieces together. Not only that, but Charlie was America first, which is a concept that seems to have escaped President Trump. He campaigned on that. Yeah, he campaigned on it, but now he's back in for his second term. He's got nothing to lose. He's not going to be in for a third term. And so now it's just everything is topsy-turvy and upside down. And Trump is going after anybody who is America first. Look what he did to Marjorie Taylor Greene. Look what he's doing to Thomas Massie. Why do you suppose he was going after Thomas Massie? Maybe Charlie Kirk. Charlie had a lot of say. If it wasn't for Charlie Kirk, Trump might not have gotten his second term. But here's Charlie last June, before he was killed. Here he is. Listen to this.
One of the most exciting developments from last week's negotiations is the new church committee. And one of the members of that new church committee is one of my favorite members of Congress.
Who is that?
He loves the Constitution.
Who could it be?
He loves liberty.
Who?
He's honest and he's tough, and he's going to really go after the intel agencies. It's Thomas Massie, who's just terrific from Kentucky. Congressman Massie, welcome to the program.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for having me on, Charlie.
So, yeah, Charlie was pumping up and supporting Thomas Massie. So are we starting to put the puzzle pieces together here? Now, Charlie was murdered after some of these revelations, speaking out against Israel, exposing the Epstein ties with the Mossad to the blackmail honeypot operations of Israel. Charlie was pointing out that, maybe there was a stand-down order. Maybe October 7th really was an inside job. And Charlie was supporting America First political figures like Thomas Massie. So now we have to look at that murder and remember, if you're going to solve a crime, you need three things. You need the motive, you need the means, and you need the opportunity. So number one, motive. Who would have a motive? Who would benefit from the demise of Charlie Kirk? Is it hard to figure out? Okay, motive. I think we know who or what entity or what political group might have had a motive to shut him up. All right, so I think that we can all agree that Israel would have a very clear and clean motive. They would benefit, que bono, who benefits? All right? So, motive. Means, okay? Who would have the means? Who would have the technology? Who would have, the wherewithal, the ability to pull off an assassination? I don't think that's hard to figure out. So motive and means, we got that covered. Opportunity. All right. Well, hell, Israel has got basically the United States elected officials got a vice in a particular place. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I think that they would have the opportunity. They can do anything that they want. And then you look at what happened immediately following Charlie's assassination and the immediate cleansing and paving over of the crime scene. And then you listen to the official narrative about, a lone shooter. Yeah. The 30-06 story. Yeah, that doesn't wash. So anyway, now a lot of people are saying, okay, yeah, maybe there was somebody that had a motive. And let me see, was it Brett Weinstein? Yeah, he was. Oh, yeah. Bart Weinstein was talking with Tucker Carlson and had this to say. This is kind of interesting because people are connecting the dots. Listen to this.
I feel, and I cannot say for sure, but I feel that something was watching and it felt the clock ticking and its opportunity to finally bring about this war, which I think Netanyahu said he's been dreaming of for 40 years.
He did say that.
So something wanted this war to happen, and there was the perception that the opportunity, the window was closing, so it had to be brought about quickly. Given how public Charlie was on this topic, I can't help but wonder. Now, obviously, that will sound crazy to many people, that something would have even considered such a thing. But I will say that after Charlie was killed, Benjamin Netanyahu very quickly denied responsibility for it. I was shocked by this. It did not seem natural. Now, I'm not saying that means that anything in that quadrant was responsible for the murder. All I know is that we didn't get a decent investigation. But I did feel, and maybe I hope you will tell me that I'm imagining this. I did feel that denial by Netanyahu was effectively a Rorschach test and maybe designed to be one. That I was supposed to feel alarmed by this, and a normal person was supposed to think, that is batshit crazy. He said they didn't do it. Obviously they didn't do it. So anyway, I'm not telling you that I see the evidence that somebody did it, but what I am telling you is we've just found ourselves in a war that Charlie would have been opposed to. We know that from his public and private statements, and that he would have been a formidable force in opposition. So, what am I to think? Why? At least we should have an investigation that tells us for sure that we know who committed the crime and that there wasn't something larger about it. But look, now I've said unforgivable things. It's done.
I don't know why that's unforgivable. I mean, this is an American citizen, someone you knew, and you're not accusing anyone of anything. And I do think, leaving aside Charlie's murder and the question of who did it, for a foreign leader to weigh in immediately and hog all the attention and make it all about himself and start issuing all these statements about how Charlie lived and died for Israel is totally unforgivable. I say this as his friend. I just think if someone did that to me after my death, I think my family would be outraged. It's not about you,
right,
Bibi? So that was disgusting behavior from someone with a track record of disgusting behavior, but at the very least we could say that's just wrong. That's not how you behave in the wake of a young man's murder. And I've never alleged, I don't even talk about this topic, and I'm not going to now, other than to say I think everything you've said is entirely reasonable, and it's not an insult to the living to want to know what happened to the dead.
Mm-hmm. So, yeah, right after Charlie was assassinated, I found that very curious indeed. I remember, it was like the next day, Netanyahu put out a statement. We didn't do it. No, we would never do that. We didn't do it. It's ridiculous to people think that Israel would have anything to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. It didn't do it. We didn't do it. No, we didn't do it. Sounds to me like the lady doth protest too much. So you think about it, folks. And the TPUSA membership out there, you've got the wool pulled over your eyes. Israel has taken over TPUSA. They've commandeered it, just like they've commandeered our government. Now, how and why and what methods that they use to pull it off? Well, again, we've got those three magic words. Anyway, I'm going to take a break. I'll be right back.
Get More Tank will save you money every month on gas. Get More Tank is a tablet with active ingredients that adds big mileage to every tank. Made in America, the Get More Tank formula is used by trucking companies and heavy industry. Now the Get More Tank formula is available to you. Get More Tank works in any gas or diesel engine, cleans your engine, lowers emissions, and you'll feel improved engine performance every time you step on the gas. Get More Tank works for cars, trucks, boats, motorcycles, four-wheelers, mowers, and blowers. Hey, if you got an engine, then Get More Tank. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters, and lawn service companies, Get More Tank will save you money and extend the life of your engines. If you're an owner-operator running your big rig around the town or across the country, Get More Tank will save you money too. If you're a farmer, all of your equipment can use Get More Tank. A 5-pack on sale at GetMoreTank.com for just $22.22 plus shipping. Use the promo code REDPILL101 and get 10% off. Save your money, save your engine, save the earth at GetMoreTank.com. Get More Tank is EPA registered, doesn't void warranties, results vary.
And as always, you can get more Tank by going to our website, TheWTFReports.com. Don't forget the TheWTFReports.com. Click on the sponsors page. It'll take you down to a window where you can click on Get More Tank and find out the specifications and details on how and why this fuel catalyst works so well. Number one, right after you start using it, within the first tank, you'll start to feel more power. When you hit the accelerator, your vehicle takes off. And as your engine adjusts and makes accommodations with this new efficient burning capacity, your engine runs cleaner. So it's more efficient, it's got more power, and here's the kicker. As you use Get More Tank, you'll start to see a mileage increase, anywhere between 15 and 20% better mileage, depending, of course, on your make, model, year of your vehicle and your driving habits. But imagine this, folks. If you're getting a 20% increase in your mileage, that means a purchase of Get More Tank, and that's 5 tablets, 1 tab per tank. That means the 5th tank is free. Now, factor this in. We all know what's going on in the Middle East. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. We're going to see oil prices go through the roof. There's no turning back on this. We're coming into some really tough times, folks, and we're going to need to save every penny that we can and be as conservative with our usage as we can. So this does not make sense not to have Get More Tank in your gas. So this is a no-brainer, folks. If you've been on the fence about trying Get More Tank, well, get off the fence. This is the time. Check this stuff out. And when you see how much better your vehicle runs and you start to see the savings in your pocket, you'll understand why I've been screaming about Get More Tank for the past couple of years. So once again, go to our website, TheWTFReports.com, click on the sponsors page, and get more tank. All right, it's 39 minutes past the hour, whatever hour you're sitting in. And, I'll open up the phone lines. If you want to call in, you're welcome to do so. 215-867-8255 is the phone number here. And let me see, there were a couple of other things I wanted to get to. As far as President Trump and his efforts, they're running out of time to wind this down. Now, they said this was going to be a real quick war. It's not going to be a forever war. Maybe it's going to be, a week or two. Then it's going to be a month or two. And then they're saying it's going to be a forever war, which is what President Trump promised he would never do. But again, I have to think, who has controlled Donald Trump now? Trump and Netanyahu, well, if Netanyahu's even still around, on borrowed time. This has to come to an end. Now, Israel knows that the entire the whole world is hating on Israel and the United States right now. And the powers that be in Israel know doggone well that America is now very much aware of the influence that Israel has had over our country. AIPAC is going to come to an end. And this toxic relationship between the United States and Israel also has to end because most of the American people want nothing to do with this war. Anyway, here's a statement from Kelly Burgess.
Benjamin Netanyahu and Donald Trump have rushed into war in Iran because both of them are running out of time. Marco Rubio admitted that the Israelis told the Americans, we're going in whether you go in or not. And why did Netanyahu have to play that card? Because he knows the midterms are coming, and he knows that this is the first election in which candidates in the Democratic Party and the Republican Party will be judged on whether or not they took AIPAC money. That, coupled with our growing awareness that the entire Epstein operation was done on behalf of Israeli intelligence in order to get power and control over American political leaders and corporate leaders. Benjamin Netanyahu knows that Americans are angry at what Israel did in Gaza, which is a massive ongoing genocide. Now Netanyahu's rushing into southern Lebanon to do the same. This is a power grab and a land grab by a man who knows that if he fails to remain in office, he will face criminal prosecutions. Trump's up against the same math, and Republicans are retiring in huge numbers because they know that the American people are deeply angry about ICE, about tariffs, about Trump selling pardons, about crypto scams, about tax cuts for billionaires, about the increasing cost of groceries. And now we find ourselves in a war in Iran that looks exactly like the war in Iraq. Poorly planned, with no exit strategy, exactly the kind of neocon lunacy that Donald Trump ran on not doing. And now he's doing it because, like everything else he ran on, he lied. Benjamin Netanyahu knows he's out of time. He knows that American voters are fully awake and aware about the two-pronged assault our democracy has been under by Israeli intelligence operations. The AIPAC money flooding our congressional races for both Democrats and Republicans, and the ongoing Jeffrey Epstein operation, which for decades has been blackmailing our congressional and corporate leaders. So here we are, facing a potential world war because two corrupt, genocidal old men are afraid they might soon have to face justice.
That's what it comes down to. And, of course, the mainstream media, they're putting it out there that California may expect a terrorist attack. Yeah, sleeper cells are being activated. Of course, those sleeper cells are all Iranian. And I call bull crap. Because Iran does not have a reputation for false flags and assassinations. Yes, they've through their proxies, yes, they have gone after targets that are opposed to Israel and the terrorist regimes that they've been having to deal with. And I'm not saying that the Iranians are great people or their regime is so righteous and wonderful. I'm not saying that at all. But I don't believe that Iran is going to have sleeper cells activated and start having terrorist attacks in California. Because they would not benefit from that. Who would benefit from that? Oh, yeah, Israel would benefit. Because then they could point the finger at the false flag attack and say, look at what those Iranians did. Yeah, so now we have to muster support to kill all the Iranians. You see how that works, folks? And again, just look at your history. I mean, how many times has Israel been behind a lot of this stuff? I mentioned it the other day. When the JFK files came out, they had to redact any inference whatsoever to Israel and the Mossad. But then when they got unredacted, we started to see, maybe there was a connection between the Israeli Mossad and the assassination of John F. Kennedy. And then, of course, there's the USS Liberty. We're all hearing about that. That's an issue that's been brought to the table again. 1967. I mean, Israel's got its fingers in so many of these nefarious activities, and they're real good at pulling off a false flag and blaming somebody else. And that's what Charlie Kirk was noticing. He talked about this. He said, was there a stand-down order? Got to blame Hamas for the attack on October 7th. But the more you look at it, the more you realize, wait a second, no, that doesn't work. But anyway, I digress. Sorry about that. But, there's so much that's been coming out about this. And again, whenever Israel is involved, people get genocided. They die. Their land and assets are stolen. And here's a statement from Jamie McIntyre. Here it is.
Wherever Israel is involved, people get genocided and die, and they steal land and assets. It's strange for people that print fake money. Why don't they just buy stuff with the fake money? Or they're too much tight asses to do even that. It's not an anti-Jewish thing. This is an anti-fake Jews. If I was Jewish, I'd probably denounce my religion, but if that's offensive to Jews, then I think it should be more offensive that those who have hijacked your religion and dropping bombs on children and now targeting little girls' schools. I mean, we know they targeted little girls for other reasons, but now they're like blowing them up in mass. Sick, satanic pedos. Wherever Israel is involved, people get genocided and die, and they steal land and assets. Strange.
Yeah, they are sick, sadistic pedophiles. They are. You can't hide it anymore. I mean, all the stuff that's come out in those Epstein files, and yes, the more stuff is coming out implicating Trump. But, all this stuff is not going unnoticed. As a matter of fact, Tom McDonald, if you haven't checked him out, I found Tom McDonald, he was doing rap tunes and music 5 years ago, and I first saw him and said, oh, man, this guy looks crazy, and some of his stuff really looks very dark. But in the past 2 years, his approach is completely different, and he just released a new rap, and I'm only going to play a piece of it here. I don't want to get in trouble, but this is just indicative of how much noticing is going on, how much people are becoming aware. They're waking up. Here's a little piece of Tom McDonald's new tune. Here it is.
They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ. It ain't left and right no more, cause now it's good and evil. They used to call it a conspiracy, but now it's real. We seen the files and the facts, don't care how you feel. They having pizza parties, and that means they eating people. This might wake them up, QAnon didn't make it up. Missing kids got flown to Jeffrey's Island by who paid enough. The rich and famous, the young eat human flesh, it ain't for fun. It's ancient ritual, sucking adrenochrome from baby's blood. They call us crazy, but they should be behind bars. They call us liars cause they don't want to get charged. They call us conspiracy theorists, but in their hearts they know all the names they call us ain't as bad as what they are. They are Satanists, criminals, murderers and pedos. We all pray to God while they worshiping the devil. Yeah, it's Hollywood, the royal family, politicians left and right. They seem anti-American, they anti-Christ.
Whoa. They're antichrists. Yeah, that's Tom McDonald's new release. And you might want to check out some of his stuff because he's telling it like it is. Yeah, he may look a little bit bizarre, and I don't want to judge people by their looks, but my gosh, he's putting it out there. And the world is seeing it. And I don't know. As a matter of fact, let me see, there's another clip here. Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Back into this issue about the missile. Anyway, here's what he had to say.
I come from an administration of George W. Bush and Richard Bruce Cheney that committed war crimes that Colin Powell and his lawyer Will Taft and I agonized over in trying to present some message to the American people about them. This administration has committed more war crimes in the last few days than I think any country since Adolf Hitler committed. And that is an incredible condemnation of this entire process. We have bombed civilians relentlessly. We have bombed a school. We have bombed a hospital. We have struck facilities in the nature of Tehran's oil capacity that is now putting black poison all over 10 plus million people. And we are essentially not bombing ballistic missile sites and bombing war materiel. We're bombing people. We took a lesson from the IDF, if you will. We are bombing people, as incidentally they are still doing in Gaza and doing now in Lebanon to a fare thee well.
Okay, I'm going to pause it right there. Now, this is the methodology that the Israelis use. He just said it. Okay, so now the United States is using the same methodology and values and principles as Israel. Not a good thing. Not a good look.
These are all war crimes.
Yes.
And one wishes with fond hope that someday we might be called before the bar of justice and have to account for these war crimes. And what you just talked about is a crime also in the eyes of international relations and people who want to keep decent international relations ongoing in the world. We're destroying that. And on top of all of that, and this is the real serious problem here for America, Trump and Hegseth and Rubio and the other entourage of their national security complex have completely misjudged the nature of this war, as has to a certain extent Bibi Netanyahu. This is a country as big as Western Europe with 93 million people, probably 90 million of whom will fight us to the bitter death, who live in terrain that almost killed Alexander the Great. It is entirely inhospitable to military operations, and Trump is talking about putting ground forces there. And the only way he will be able to claim any nature of victory is to do that. Only that will be the end of the empire's presence in the Levant and the Middle East in general, because we will not be able to sustain that economically, physically. We do not have the soldiers or Marines to do that, but that's what he's talking about. This is pure nonsense. There was a column in Haaretz yesterday, and the title of the column essentially was Trump will chicken out in this war too. I'm sorry. He's not going to chicken out necessarily. That might be the tone intent he puts to it. He's going to be defeated.
Colonel, I wanted to ask you, we played that clip with Trump talking about all the damage that Iran has sustained, but there's been very little acknowledgement by the U.S. military or the White House to the enormous damage that has occurred to the U.S. military footprint in the Middle East for decades. All of these bases and a radar, multi-billion-dollar radar were established throughout the region. And what's your understanding?
Yeah, that damage is enormous. And I think what you're witnessing right now is the initial steps of the empire, the American empire's retreat from the Levant.
And possibly the American empire collapse. Against that was Colonel Lawrence Wilkerson. Now, there's another statement here. I can't remember this gentleman's name. I've seen him interviewed on a bunch of different podcasts. He's former CIA intelligence officer, and here's his statement.
What price do you put on the lives of the 170 girls, ages 6 to 12?
It's Larry Johnson.
There's not enough money in the world to pay for that. You can rebuild oil refineries, oil depots, airfields, buildings, but you cannot replace the lives that have been taken. And look at Mujtaba's own situation. I believe it was not only were his father and mother murdered in a most heinous manner, but his wife and his young daughter. So this is a man who's experienced the kind of loss that crushes people. So, but Iran's going to demand compensation. The United States does not get out of this situation without having to pay a very heavy price.
Yeah, and that heavy price is basically, okay, look at Iran has gone ahead and attacked its neighbor countries, but they're not attacking the country itself. They're attacking the military bases that those countries have allowed, that the United States has set up with their radar and their staging areas, et cetera, et cetera. So when Iran is bombing Bahrain or Kuwait or any other country, they're not targeting their infrastructure. They're targeting the U.S. military bases. And they basically have told these countries, look, if you are in alignment with the United States, and if you are allowing them to stage out of your country, then you're making yourself an enemy, and we don't want you as an enemy. We just want you to stop helping the Americans kill us. So that's why we're taking out the radar stations and the staging areas and the airfields and all that type of stuff. And you're not going to be allowed to have them, come back and get them rebuilt. And if you are going to side with the United States, then you make yourself an enemy, and we're going to have to treat you as such. And this has upset the entire structure of the Middle East. And the U.S. can't win this. They just can't. It's not going to happen. And meanwhile, the real patriotic Americans, the real ones who are saying, America first. Now, I don't agree with everything that they always say. Thomas Massey, I'm not 100% on everything. Marjorie Taylor Greene, not 100%. But they are a whole lot more America first than anything that we're seeing in our government right now. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Is Israel bombed a Catholic church in Gaza, and that an entire population is being wiped out as they continue their aggressive war in Gaza. My amendment would strike $500 million in funding for nuclear-armed Israel's missile defense system. The U.S. already provides Israel with $3.8 billion annually in foreign aid. $3.8 billion, that's a lot of money. Additionally, the April 2024 security supplemental included $8.7 billion for Israel. Even though Israel, nuclear-armed Israel, has universal health care for their citizens and subsidized college for their citizens. They're able to provide that. However, here in America, we're $37 trillion in debt. My amendment will ensure an America First Department of Defense, and that is exactly what we need and we haven't had for a very long time.
That's right. Absolutely right. And I'm sorry for those of you out there who want to call me an anti-Semite. You've just got to get yourself re-educated here, because the Israelis are the anti-Semites. I know it's hard for you to wrap your head around that, but I mentioned it many times. The ancestry studies prove that 80% of Palestinians are indigenous. They are the Semites. 97.5% of the Israelis are not. They're of Eastern European and North American descent and have no ties whatsoever to the Holy Land. Meanwhile, we've got a couple of minutes left here. Can I squeeze this clip in? Yeah, okay. Rachel Blevins has her podcast, and she was interviewing Mark Sleboda. And here's a quick statement.
What is your reaction to all of this, and how do you view the current state of this war?
There's so much damage. Iran has adopted, we're going to take you all down with us strategy to try to get the U.S. and Israel to stop their illegal, unprovoked war of aggression against their country. They have all of these levers to do it that they're pushing, despite all the damage that they're getting from the U.S., despite the decapitation strikes taking out much of Iran's political and military leadership on the first day. They're still hitting back in such a way that is not just doing damage to the U.S. and Israel, but is making the global economy scream.
Okay. Let me see. I got more time. Yeah, one more clip here from John Mearsheimer. And again, that's why I call this program WTF Reports, the WTF. I'm here with the facts, the audio receipts. This is not me saying it. You're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. Here's John Mearsheimer.
I think this is a remarkably dangerous situation. If the Israelis lose in Iran, they will be fully aware that they lost. They will be fully aware that they will have enraged the Iranian body populace, right? They will be fully aware that an Iran with nuclear weapons will be very, very dangerous from Israel's perspective, and they will go to great lengths to prevent that. And if they can't prevent it through conventional means, then we get to a scenario where they think about using nuclear weapons. And as we know, there's no state on the planet that is more ruthless, more murderous than the Israelis.
True that.
So the idea that they would use nuclear weapons is certainly plausible. And I really worry about this scenario.
Yeah, and well,
I think this is a remarkably dangerous situation.
And well, we should worry about this scenario. Anyway, folks, I hope that you're enjoying this information. Well, it's nothing to enjoy, but hey, look, we can't make informed decisions without information, so that's what I'm here for. And if you are enjoying the broadcast, please, if you're listening on Rumble or BitChute or YouTube or Facebook or whatever, click like, share, subscribe, make a comment, and above all else, word of mouth. Tell everybody else about this broadcast. All right, that said, the weekend is now upon us. I hope you have a safe and prosperous weekend. And all I could say is get prepared. Understand that this is a battle of good versus evil. So stay safe, stay free. God bless you all. Have a great weekend. And God willing, I'll see you Monday.